Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at the top 10 teams for the Fossil Cup. The Fossil Cup only going to allow you to run Steel, Rock and Water type Pokemon, and the meta shifted quite a bit with the recent meta shift with the season, the Pokemon that got buffed, and you're going to see it directly in the first team, but also otherwise, of course, I would always appreciate if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe. And also, there's going to be a video for the Ultra League. I'm not too sure if it's going to be before or after this video. Definitely check this one out as well if you want to see the other league. But let's take a look at this meta and 10 teams you can run with, especially some buffed Pokemon, but of course not only with buffed Pokemon. If I would have just made a video here just with buffed Pokemon, it would have not worked out. The meta is too limited for that. But one Pokemon that's going to be very, very good, especially with a different fast move than usual, is going to be the Shadow Scissor. This Pokemon is going to run Fury Cutter instead of the move Bullet Punch, which is going to allow you to have a bit better play against the Grass type Pokemon, which are going to be quite common in order to counter the Rock and the Water type Pokemon here in this meta. Of course, Grass types have to be subpart like Water, Rock or Steel as well. And so not a lot of them are going to be available here, but for example, Ferrothorn is going to be one of the most common ones. And then you're going to have Pokemon like Ludicolo that are actually going to be very, very solid in this meta, which you're going to see two teams, I think, later on as well with. But this team looks really, really solid. Only real weakness is going to be Pelipper, which I feel like you can still play with a Scissor, because you have Night Slash, which is going to do neutral damage, and you're just going to do a bit more damage with your fast moves. Yeah, the rest kind of struggles quite a bit against Pelipper, but I don't think that Pelipper is going to be a meta-relevant Pokemon. And Araquanid, I guess, yeah, but Scissor again has some potential. Even Poliwrath can play against it because it can resist all the charge move damage, whatever as well. So yeah, I feel like it's still going to be an okay one. And so yeah, this is going to be it for team number 1. I think it's a very solid and safe team to run. And we can move on now to team number 2. Where we're going to have here a team with Poliwrath, and to be fair, you could actually use the difficult matchup here as your lead as well, as Taurus in the Orca form is actually really good in the current meta, as you have coverage with Trailblaze that allows you to hit other Water type Pokemon for super effective damage, and of course also the Rock type Pokemon. And to be fair, the Taurus has a lot of potential in this meta, as Rock and Water and Steel are all weak to the fast moves that charge move from this Pokemon here, so that is kinda cool. Anyway, back to the team. We're going to have here Poliwrath, we're going to have the Sales of Steelix to bait out potentially, I don't know, like Water type Pokemon generally. It's just a very good Sales Up in this meta. And then we have in the back here the Ferrothorn, which is going to be also an alternative option there. It all kind of works well. You're going to have two Pokemon that counter the Flying type weakness of the Poliwrath. And especially like here, Fortress in the back helps you out with the Grass type weakness that you have with the lead as well. So generally, I think it's going to be a great team to run, and I think that should work out quite well for you as well. Team number 3, we're going to have a team here with Ferrothorn, the Poliwrath, as well as Lantern. Lantern is back in the meta for this kind of cup. Alone, this Pokemon is actually quite solid, but again, in the back there, you can also run, or actually more, I would rather run this as a Seiza most likely, but we have a different team towards this as well later on. The Taurus actually has so much potential here as well. Here, this team itself doesn't really have a weakness. I could actually see that Ferrothorn, the Taurus Seiza, and the Poliwrath in the back is going to be a very solid team to run as well. But this team doesn't really have any weakness at all. There's no Pokemon that you cannot deal with, which we see here as well. The only Pokemon that on paper we cannot deal with is Tinkaton, which A, I don't think is going to be very common because it doesn't really make a lot of sense in the current meta. And B, you still play neutral against it with the Ferrothorn, as you still resist Fairy type damage. And you still do neutral damage with the fast moves and charge moves of Poliwrath and Lantern, so all of them can actually play against it. Like as a team effort, it's not really a weakness at all. And so I think that's going to be a very cool one there. The one weakness I could maybe just see would be the Scissor, but that depends really on how things gonna happen. Like if they have a ton of energy, it could be a bit of a problem, but otherwise I think it's fine as well. Next up, we're going to have here team number 4. We're going to have Lucario, Jellicent, as well as Gyarados. Gyarados definitely underrated in this meta because this Pokemon is going to be one of the better flying type Pokemon in this meta, which allows you of course to survive like moves like Force Palm from Lucario a bit better. You have a lot of fast move pressure with Dragon Breath, as there's not really a lot of Fairy type Pokemon around. And so Gyarados has also with the flying typing the of course benefit here to be very good against the Gastrodon, which is currently on PvPoke the #1 Pokemon. So Gyarados, a lot of things can work towards it. The only thing that works against it is going to be like electric types like Lantern, which might be a bit of an issue for this team. I still think that Lucario can play against Lantern in the 2-shield scenario quite easily, and so Shadow Ball from Jellicent going to hurt quite a bit, and Jellicent is here to bait out the weaknesses of Gyarados anyway. Here on paper again, Lantern is the only real weakness. Jellicent, you have your own Jellicent, and also you have Crunch and Dragon Breath. Gyarados, which is fine, so I wouldn't really see this as a weakness. And then we have Feraligatr, where again all the charge moves are going to be resisted on our Jellicent, and you don't still have some neutral fast move pressure with both Lucario as well as the Gyarados, so I wouldn't really see that as a difficult matchup either. Team number 5 here, it's going to be a team around the Gastrodon, and the Sasop is going to be the Corviknight, which has access to Sand Attack, and also going to be the next Community Day Pokemon after Como, which is going to be kind of crazy. And I will most likely make a video towards it as well, because I think the way Corviknight is played is going to change drastically with the next Community Day. It's an important one that you want to definitely run, because this Pokemon gets Air Cutter, and it's going to make this Pokemon a bit different and definitely stronger. Like, it's going to be top meta. But anyway, back to this video here as well. Gastrodon is going to be very good in the meta, of course. Number 1 spot currently on PE Poke. And we have 2 coverage Pokemon against grass types in the back. Corviknight double resisted and also Scizor double resisted. And generally, this team together is a perfect core. Like, there's nothing really that can break it. Maybe other Corviknights can be a bit problematic, but that's also kind of not really the case, I would say. I feel like Corviknight is just so neutral currently, that's not really a problem. And so, yeah, this team is nearly perfect in my opinion. Like, this is a really good team to run right now. And especially with Corviknight as a sales up, having access to Sand Attack, having also some ground type fast move pressure, it's kind of cool. Just, of course, doesn't do tons of damage, but it's kind of nice there, especially as it supports also the Scizor in the back that doesn't want to face fire type Pokemon. Fire type Pokemon? You don't really see any fire type Pokemon so far, and this is because they're ranked really, really low, because it's a meta between like water and rock, like which fire type Pokemon is even there. And now we're gonna take a look at team number 6, where we're gonna see 2 of them. And they're both ranked pretty low, but this is a thing for this cup, and this is something where also those videos matter most likely to a lot of people. Yeah, like, this is not the obvious, but this is something that actually is going to work quite well in this meta. Fire types are actually really solid. Like, honestly, fire types are really, really strong. Let's take a look at Heatran. Heatran, going to have access to Fire Spin. I actually thought the reason why I actually looked at Heatran and why I looked at Fire type Pokemon is because I thought it would be fun to run Bug Bite Shadow Heatran, because Bug Bite got buffed, but Fire Spin is so much better. And honestly, look at this graph here as well. Fire types are really, really solid in this meta. Scizor completely dies, Ferrothorn completely dies, Togedemaru completely dies. We have Fortress completely getting walled. There are so many Pokemon where fire types are really, really solid. And the best way of playing it is, I feel like, with a Ludicolo, because Ludicolo allows you to completely shut down any water type Pokemon in the meta, as well as rock type Pokemon, and with that you're going to have a perfect core. And here we're going to see a very cool team with Ludicolo, Lucario, and Heatran, which works out absolutely amazing on paper, and I think going to be an interesting team to run, especially because Lucario here has access to the move Thunder Punch, which allows you to bait out water type Pokemon but still punish them, which can be very, very beneficial. And so I think this is going to be a great team to run here. Alternative, if you don't have a Shadow Heatran from Giovanni, you're going to have also access to Magcargo, which works out. And there's another fire type Pokemon I kind of want to showcase here in the next team. The next team is kind of running a little bit different. We're going to have the team 7 here with Ferrothorn in the lead, the Ludicolo, and the Hisuian Arcanine. I purposely said not a Ludicolo as a save swap, because in an ideal world, you don't want to save swap. Like, you just want to stay in. And this is the thing with this team, you just want to play out the lead matchup. That's what you want to do. You have Thunder, and if we're going to go through the list, what are the weaknesses? Like, of course, the Pokemon that you beat already with Ferrothorn are fine. Against Scizor, you have Thunder, still going to hurt them quite a bit. You might be able to get a shield advantage, and then you have Hisuian Arcanine to Fire Fang them down. Registeel, we still have Thunder, still going to be fine. Then you have Hisuian Arcanine to farm them down. Berserker, again Thunder, you're going to have Hisuian Arcanine to farm them down. And that's the common theme. Fortress, you're still going to do a little bit of damage. Lucario, you still should be able to go for a Thunder, maybe even bait the shield out. Corviknight, you have Thunder, super effective damage against them. Melmetal, same thing, and also for the Tinkaton. So there's not a single matchup currently in the lead where you don't have the potential of doing damage from the Pokemon that are here top tier, basically. And so you kind of want to just align yourself as possible, or try to get a shield advantage. And here's the cool thing about Hisuian Arcanine, which I kind of want to talk about as well, is that this Pokemon has access to a Wild Charge, which will allow you to have like some nice coverage against most of the water type Pokemon in this meta. So if you farm down a Steel type, then eventually you're going to be able to also punish your hardest answers with this Pokemon afterwards. That's why I kind of want to highlight this one here as well. I think that's a cool team and a bit more unique as well. So let's move on to team number 8, which is a great team. I like this team. It's going to be Ferrothorn, it's going to be Taurus, and this is something that I wanted to talk about earlier, but only like realized later in team building, that Ferrothorn, Taurus, Aqua is a great core. It's an amazing core, to be fair, because Ferrothorn is going to be weak against like Pokemon like fire types. Like those fighting types, fire types is okay for Taurus, because like Lucario takes super effective damage from Double Kick, while you don't really take super effective damage from Force Palm, so like that's going to be fine. But Taurus Aqua has like the one benefit is going to be Trailblaze, and that Poliwrath is even more common in this meta. Poliwrath gets walled by Pokemon like Jellicent, for example. You don't. You have Trailblaze, you do super effective damage. You don't get walled there. And Togedemaru in the back going to work out quite well here as well. Again, of course, if you're going to have a fighting type Pokemon in the lead, it can be a bit problematic with Togedemaru, but I could even see you just swapping out into the Togedemaru straight away, get a shield advantage, and then try to sweep endgame with Taurus and the Trailblaze. But yeah, difficult matchups. I guess a counter user in the lead could be a bit problematic. But then again, you could also just play it out again like we had before with the Fortress team and just use the core of Togedemaru and Taurus to clean up the battle. That would work out also really well, which you see as well on the side here on what kind of Pokemon you beat and what Pokemon you can't beat. So yeah, this is going to be an interesting team. I think this team should work out really well, and we can go to team number 9. Where we're going to have here Lucario, and of course the core of Golisopod and Araquanid. But don't be fooled by the recent move update. Shadow Claw is still ideal. Shadow Claw just gives you better coverage against the current meta, against Jellicent, which is very important that you have this move against this Pokemon. You hopefully can bait them out, and you're hopefully gonna be able to punish them. Jellicent can be a bit of an issue, but then again, you have Thunder Punch on your Lucario doing some solid damage, and you have Shadow Claw on your Golisopod doing some solid damage, and even Araquanid has some play against this Pokemon, so I wouldn't say it's too bad. But on paper, this team works out really well as well. Lantern can be a bit problematic. I don't even think it's going to be that problematic. You have played with the Lucario. So generally speaking, I would only really say that the Jellicent is a very difficult matchup for this team. But then again, you also have coverage still against this Pokemon, so not even that really. Yes, this is a final team that is a meme team. Yeah, that's fine. But it's honestly not as bad as you think it is. Yeah, you can substitute other Pokemon here than just having Dialga and Palkia. I want to have a Dialga Palkia team because I thought they look great in the current meta. And let's take a look here real quick at the team and why I think it's such a cool one. And yeah, there are Kingdra that you can run. There's other Dragon type Pokemon you can run. Tyron, for example. But look at this. On paper, it doesn't look that great. But then we're going to take a look at the Pokemon that we are battling against. Gastron, neutral against Gastron, neutral against Palkia. Ferrothorn gets walled by Dialga, which is kind of funny. Jellicent is going to be okay for all Pokemon. Togedemaru, of course, your lead is great. Poliwrath is okay or good for our lead as well as our Sesop. Scizor is going to be actually fine for our lead, but also doing it like they don't want to take the damage from Dragon Breath. They're kind of squishy. Fortress is fine. Golisopod, our backline is fine against. Corviknight is the only real weakness. Araquanid, our backline is fine against. Especially the Dialga has great coverage, but if you take a look at the two-shot scenario for this team, it actually looks really, really solid. And so yeah, I kind of want to just include it here as well. Of course, there are different kind of options that you can run as well if you want to run Double Dragon, which should work out really well in this current meta. It's only Tinkaton, and I guess Morwell can have play as a fairy type in this meta, but I don't really think they're going to exist, and also our lead is completely walling them. So yeah. What I would actually recommend you though on Palkia is actually the move Fire Blast, because it's going to allow you to one-shot Fortress as well as Ferrothorn if you ever get in the scenario. But this would be a fun team to run in the beginning. Currently, Elo doesn't really matter anyway, so I would rather have fun. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I will see you then. Bye bye.